What's going on, guys? This is Umana, and welcome to another episode of the Circuit's weekly newsletter, man. And we got my guy Alex. Alex in here. He in Florida. He's big chilling, man, staying out of trouble.
Big
Uh,
show, man.
then we got Tobias Bass, our special guest today from the Athletic. Lives in Houston. Tobias is someone I got to know for the past couple of years. Really good dude, knows what he's talking about, and can get information. So, Tobias, I appreciate you coming out.
No problem, man. Anytime.
So let's get into the first topic. Tobias wrote a really good piece on the Athletic that I believe people in the grassroots and even the college community college basketball community should read about. Tobias, just talk about it. It was going on about the transfer portal. You got to ask a couple of NBA scouts, college players. Just talk about what your article is about, and we can further discuss.
Oh, it's pretty much just about how high school kids are adjusting to the new landscape of college basketball, which is the transfer portal. Last year we saw over 1,700 kids in the portal. I think we're probably going to see 2K, if not pushing 2K, going into this year. So, what does that landscape look like for a high school kid, and how can they, what can they do to, I guess, avoid some of the pitfalls that other kids would have to go through, trying to adjust?
Yeah, so talk about that. What are some pitfalls that you think a high school player and a parent in their support system have to adjust to so they don't get caught in a situation where they're scrambling at the end?
I think it's definitely, you taught me this. You gotta love who love you. You gotta find a school that likes you, and there's nothing wrong with committing early. I think you saw in this 2023 class, I think you had out of the top 100, I think it was 93 of them, it's around that number, that committed before December 1st.
Wow.
So you're looking at that's an incredible number. And you're seeing even now you have several 2024s that are already off the board. So I think that they're starting to see, and these are the top 100 kids. These aren't even the ones lower. So I think they're even getting the memo like, hey, I like these schools. We're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to go ahead and get off the board. I had a kid last year. I was helping him. He had a couple of high major offers. He had like Florida, Georgia, Mississippi State. There's all three of those schools had one thing in common. All the coaches left. They all moved around. He ended up finding a school 2 weeks before school started. He went to a super, super low major, and at first he thought he was going to go to a JUCO. Luckily, he was able to find a school, D1 school, but he's a perfect example of he waited. He thought he was going to try to get another couple more offers. As the summer was winding down, he didn't find it. So he ended up having to go somewhere he probably didn't want to go to, but luckily he found a way.
Right. Yeah. And that's a lot of players that get caught up in that situation.
Yeah.
Decent amount. We always hear about it. They kind of hit you up at the in the spring of the senior year and the summer, like, hey, can you help school? When it's like you had options. Why didn't you really make your options and realize, in one of the articles, and some of the quotes was like, leverage. Like you don't have leverage like that, right? So you shouldn't. I say it all the time, like you said. I said, like, love who loves you. So if these schools really like you, like, let's figure out which is the best ones that actually believe in me and playing and growing, and make a decision there. What's your thoughts, Alex?
I mean, yeah, like, first of all, Tobias, appreciate you joining us, man. Second of all, article was a great read. I suggest, everybody that's listening to this podcast, if you haven't gone and read that article, definitely, if you're involved in the grassroots space, if you're in the grassroots space, or, if you're just a fan of college and high school basketball, it's definitely something to read. My thoughts, and, Tobias, I had a couple questions for you, man. First question that I had for you is just, what are the biggest impacts that, these kids are looking for? Obviously the transfer portal being a huge one in itself, kids hopping in that portal, moving around. But like as a senior, as an uncommitted senior, maybe guys looking at a low major, mid major, what's some advice that, you would give to these kids that are, looking for these schools when, like you said, there's 2,000 kids in a portal? What's some advice you would give them?
I would just tell them, really go through your options. I mean, Google is free. The internet is free. Every move a college coach has made is online. Every kid they've recruited is online. You can find this information out. It's kind of like meeting someone for the first time. Like you go on a date, you may meet this girl on whatever app it may be. You're probably gonna look her up at first. I highly recommend that. Sure. So same thing, you should, because it's a lot of weird stuff going on. So if you're gonna go play for a coach for 4 years, that same principle should apply. So you should look him up, see what he likes to do, what he likes to recruit. You know, some college coaches, they bring in 6, 7, sometimes even 8 transfers a year. That's the thing. They like playing older dudes. That may not be the spot for you going in early. That might not be it.
Right.
So you may want to look at another school where I could probably get on the floor early or have an opportunity to play.
Yeah, when I look at half court hoops, man, I follow him on YouTube. I really follow him on Twitter. Like, he puts some really good X's and stuff, breaks down like a lot of good stuff like in the NBA, even the college level. He quoted your tweet and he said, the transfer portal, some of the benefits of it is the guys that are in the high major, they transfer down, they transfer to the right level. They transfer to the original level, right? Like a kid that's really a mid-major went to a high major, and now he's actually going back to the right level because he can't play at the high major and he's thriving at the mid-major. Just talk about that. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think the transfer portal has now allowed guys to actually go to the appropriate level?
Yeah, I think it has. I think kids are, because some of them they simply just can't go high major. I was talking to a high major coach last year in October. They had yet to play a game. He hit me, AT, don't send me any more high school kids. I was like, okay. What if he's a top 60 kid? Don't matter, don't want him. Some of these kids might go to the NBA, one, then two of them, they might be McDonald's All-Americans. Still said no. So that tells you the type of how just different the dynamic has changed. And I have just 2 examples. You look at Brandon Podzimski at Santa Clara. He went to Illinois, playing 3 minutes or so. Now he's in the WCC. He's probably going to win Player of the Year. He's already on draft boards. They haven't been a first-round pick next year. Jamal Cain last year went to Marquette. He transferred down. He went to Oakland. He was 3rd in the conference in scoring. He ends up getting picked up by the Miami Heat.
Right. To me, sometimes, the recruits are like, oh, mid-major or low major or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think picking the right school is so important.
Yeah.
Especially now, like in the NBA, they're going to do their research. Like these scouts go everywhere, right? Like they're going to do their homework. So if you can play, you can play. And sometimes you go to the low to mid major and then you can go high major, right? Like you want to train up. You talk to coaches. We all talk to coaches. Coaches tell me no high school kids, yada, 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 or this kid's going to play behind this kid. And I think when we look at, and this is going to transition to our next subject, when you see guys that have produced in high school and won and all high major level talents, but went to maybe they went to a level lower, they're thriving. Like I can just meet it in my head like a Kendall Weaver and a Brandon Walker at UTA. I know I'm kind of forgetting some other guys. The kid that went to McNeese from Timberview. There's numerous guys that have success. And so now this transition to my next topic, and this is potential versus production, right? Obviously, a guy has to have physical tools and to play at a level with athleticism, size, length, arms, size, all of that. Also, they got to be guys that have the skill set to play at a certain level, right? When they're younger, me and Alex are working on our next, rank on these rankings, updating our rankings. We have to value, okay, this guy has more upside in his kid, so he goes higher. Well, this is a 24 and 20. This may be the 24 class or 23 class. Like, okay, now production weighs more, right? Like, we're not on to the fancy, he has a big time upside, doesn't produce. So my question is that I know I'm getting a little long-winded is how much there's a weight system, right? Like production versus potential when they're freshmen and sophomores, it starts getting a little even. Then junior year, like, okay, like you just start producing. Senior year is obviously production more, but just talk about that. Like, how much does production matter when they're younger? And then talk about where upside and production come into play when they're older. So Alex, we can start with you.
Yeah, man. I mean, like you said, we're going through, and resetting our rankings now. And I mean, production versus potential is, really important when doing these rankings. Like you just said, we're going to go off if we're going to go off a kid's potential. All right, we're looking at stuff like, all right, what's he look like? What's his height? You know, how long are his arms? You know, what, like, just the raw talent, you see it, right?
Right.
Other than on production, the kid could be averaging 10 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks. And
Right.
if a kid's doing that on a regular basis, and another thing that I like to talk about when talking about these things is I love when a kid plays up. I love that. If a 15, like, here's a prime example. Cameron Boozer does not need to be playing 16U this upcoming season.
Right.
He does not need to be he didn't need to be playing 15U last year.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, that Knight Riders team, obviously they dominated the 15U. You know, same thing with Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg doesn't need to be playing his. Cooper Flagg needs to be playing against older dudes. Like, here's it, like Dink Pate. Dink Pate's been playing up. And Dink Pate, you know, was pretty solid for Team Trae Young. You know, George Clay put the ball in his hands, young dude, and he had Jacoby Walter and Caden Cooper on that team, and he gave Dink Pate the ball. That's stuff that I look for. If a kid, like, let's keep using Dink as an example. If George Clay gave him the ball, right, that gives Dink confidence, right? And it's showing this year at Pinkston. You know, he's damn near averaging a triple-double. You know, stuff like that on potential and playing up like that, you know, that's a thing that I look at. You know, he's playing up at the 17U age level for the past 2 years, and he's been really productive. But, you know, going back to, you know, production, you know, he's been productive while doing that, which is even more impressive. So, you know, I think if a kid's playing up and he's younger and he's being productive, it's honestly a mix of both, because he's still young. So you still see the potential, but he's playing up, playing against guys that are older, guys that are stronger, guys that are quite honestly better. They could be better, and he's still being productive. You know, that's how I kind of, you know, correlate. I kind of like to correlate the two. You know, if you correlate the two, then you're bound to be great. If you're being productive and you have the potential, you're bound to be great, right? So that's kind of how I look at it.
Tobias, what's your thoughts?
For me, I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I also want to piggyback off of that is you're never going to be playing 17 to any level. Like, you're going to be a 16-year-old, you're on varsity, you're never going to be playing against your right age group. When you go to college, especially with the portal, of an 18-year-old playing against a 25-year-old, 24-year-old. So he's never going to be playing that right age group. So I think that if the kid's good enough, him playing upper level is just super important, because he's going to get, you know, he's going to get knocked on his ass a little bit, but he's going to be able to learn from that and grow from it and go forward. So I definitely think, I also think too, as far as the potential, I think it sometimes matters the position. Sometimes you see bigs take a little bit longer to develop. But sometimes I think that for certain bigs, especially the ones with that potential, you know, you can't wait all day for them, but it makes sense. Sometimes, you know, they don't know why they're so big and why their stuff doesn't move the same way as they are. So I think that sometimes they have to figure that out. Sometimes kids, my little brother was we put an FIU between this sophomore and junior, he grew 7 inches. Just seeing him get out of bed in the morning was a hassle, because he wasn't used to being that big. He would just fall over himself simply because he didn't, you know how to move that way. He ended up playing at FIU. He's overseas now. But at the time, no one would have thought he would have been a D1 kid, because he was just weird and goofy. But it took him a little while to get used to that height and to that size. Then he was able to be successful.
Right. You know, my thoughts on that, you're right with bigs. And that's why sometimes I'm careful or how high I rank bigs, because bigs there's like a social thing with them, right? Like, there are some of them, like there's a lot of them you see that are embarrassed. They're trying to figure out how to communicate and be a normal person. When you're 6'10" and like you're just towering over people, they're trying to be normal, right? So when they're younger, they try to do what's cool, so they don't want to really use their size and really care, because they're trying to fit in, because they never really been able to fit in. And like you said, it's just that goofiness with bigs that it takes time. But I do feel that sometimes when we talk about potential, and especially it more so happens more with bigs or big wings, like they aren't productive they're sometimes not really productive
I agree.
because they're going through a lot. Not saying other kids aren't, but they especially especially like which it can impact production. So yeah, you see a 7-footer, a 6'10" kid with a 7'5" wingspan, or a 6'9" potential wing guy that shows flashes but just not very inconsistent with their play. I sometimes feel that we hurt them when we rank them top 5, right?
Yeah.
Like when you rank them top 3 and they're still trying to figure out how to use their size and be a normal kid, right? Because it's something that they've been challenging themselves the whole life. Now, if they are putting up 15 points a game and doing this and that, then rightfully so. But I do think we sometimes see when we got guys that are ranked high at a young age, but haven't been productive, and then all of a sudden they're seniors and they're falling, it's because sometimes we heralded them too quick because they haven't grown into themselves yet. And when they become more productive, then I think then is valid to rank them higher. I know I'm more on a production deal. When they're younger, I look at upside. Like I'm big on upside, but some of the misses that I've had is because, man, like that kid won everywhere he was. I ranked him lower than a kid that I thought had a higher ceiling, but was never conducive to winning basketball like that.
Right.
And
I think too, some of it is too, it's just like the position group. So you have, you see this all the time. Some kids are 4. I don't want to be a 4. I want to be a wing.
Right.
Well, you're probably a 4, buddy. You're probably a 4, but he doesn't want to do that. So it's like, okay, now he's playing out of position, freshman, 10th grade, 11th grade. When he gets to college, everything just shifts. Now he won't be whatever position group he wants to be. So now some of the playing field equalizes. I think that sometimes can help or hurt the kid. It kind of depends on what he does. I think that sometimes the kids that are able to be humble early and realize that early, because I have a conversation with them all the time. It's like, okay, you want to be whatever group this is, do you want to play or not? That's my biggest thing. We can argue back and forth about whether you're this and like that. That's fine. You playing now, but at the next level, when he moves you to this, are you going to fight him and just not play, or do you going to accept that role or that position group that you are and be there? And then basketball's changed so much. I mean, there is no simple 4 anymore. There's different types. You have stretch forwards, athletics forwards, defensive ones, 3 and D. You have all different types. So I think that the position group has changed so much over the last 4 years that them being able to kind of find their niche will help them in the long run. I think so.
No, absolutely. So let's transition to the next topic. This is gonna be a fun one. So we're gonna get with Tobias. We're gonna get Tobias top 5 overall players in Houston, regardless of class.
Okay, this isn't in any order, but
no. It gotta be in order.
Oh, gotta be in order. Okay.
It gotta be in order. Hey, I'm gonna give mine. Alex want to do it. Alex ain't from Texas. He's seen a lot of basketball. He want to give his. He can, but we got to do it in order. We got to do it, Tobias.
Okay.
You gonna piss off people? I'm gonna piss off.
No, for sure. I'm definitely gonna make some people mad. At one. Oh, by the way, I'm not kind of Beaumont kid. That's not Houston. And everyone that's not Houston, bro.
Okay.
Beaumont is closer to Louisiana than it is Houston.
Facts. We're taking Beaumont kids out. Okay.
Taking them out. That's number one. So.
Okay. So Wesley Yates, you hear this? Like, we.
I love you, Wesley, but you can't be on the list, bro. You closer. You too far.
Right.
And so, so for one, I got Lowe. I got Jalen Lowe.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jalen's game. At 2, I got Tugler, U of H commit. At 3, I got Robert Miller. I mean, he's really, really talented. I think he has a lot of potential. 4, I got AJ Bates. And then 5, I got Devine.
Okay. So no Amari McDowell in there.
No, you didn't know. He didn't make it. He didn't make it yet. I was, Chris. I can't put Chris in. He's not here anymore. So I took all them. I took all those guys out.
I should put a disclaimer that if you go to school out of state,
I took them out. Jamar would have been an honorable mention, but I couldn't put him in the top 5.
Who?
He would have been an honorable mention, but I took him out of the top 5.
I feel that. So for me, I got the same 2 you do. So I got Jalen Lowe, then I got JoJo Tuckler, right?
Yeah.
Especially when we talk about guys' potential and production.
Yeah.
3, I got Jared Harris.
It's a good pick.
I know Jay. Look, Yuri, you listen to this, he's gonna be mad anyways because anything after before one, like if he's after one, there's a right.
He gonna be mad at me. He gonna be mad at me.
Yeah, I got Jared Harris. This was tough because I have 4 Robert Miller, but I think Robert Miller is gonna make me feel really dumb putting him at 4 because I really like his game. It's kind of hard to go see him because he's at Pasadena Memorial.
Yeah, I don't even go see him. He comes this way, and I go watch. I'm not driving that far.
Right, and I guess for me, it's a lower sample size than the others, but every time I see him, he's really good. But it's just a lower sample size, right? Than compared to the other guys. But I have Robert Miller at 4, and I would not be surprised if he ends up being the best out of all of them at the end. And at 5. It was between AJ Bates and Divine. I'm gonna go AJ just because I really like what he's doing at Seven Lakes this season. I like what he did in the summer too. He brings it more. I like Divine. Like Divine is uber talented.
Yeah.
I like AJ's consistency with play. I mean, obviously you've seen Seven Lakes. They're better. They're a better team than Fort Ben Clemens, but like 32 is still impressive, right? Like. You play that's 36 games. And he's, he brings it like that. So, and I think he's under recruited too.
Definitely.
I think he's recruited. I think it's really crazy. So I have AJ Base 5, and I have like Divine Ugo Wright outside. Those 5s, I think they still got to do a little bit more like Nigel Williams. I mean, Sebastian and Wheeler. I just want to see more Nigel Walls. Just got to see more. We talked about playing up. I think Montana may be up. I'm hearing that. Gonna be interested to see what they do in the summer. They could potentially crack this list.
Yeah, I mean with Bates, I mean he was top 5 in assists in EYBL last year when he played. Divine as a sophomore with Chris Johnson in his district, he wins district MVP. That's impressive to be a sophomore and win it over a Kansas commit. That's very impressive. So we talk about that potential production thing. That's super productive, both of them.
Absolutely, and that's why it was hard. Like between him and AJ, it was just really hard. I mean, you can go either. I definitely think either one deserves to be in that top 5. Alex, what's your thoughts?
I mean, like you said, I don't get to watch these guys as much as you guys do, but every kid that you guys mentioned, I'm a huge fan of Jalen Lowe. I think he's going to excel at Pitt. JoJo Tugler plays super hard. Rebounds the hell out of the ball, just a real aggressive guy, a real aggressive player. But, everybody else that, you guys mentioned, it could go. I'm a huge fan of Robert Miller. Like you said, Ani, I wouldn't be surprised if at one point, he's the number 1 player from that area. He's just got tons of upside. Excited to watch him this grassroots season, but you guys got that area down there, man. You guys got that. You guys got that on lock.
Tobias has it way more than me. Like I have not done a great job going to Houston enough. I've been there a few times. Snuck in there a few times, obviously. Like, and I kind of used Tobias as like to help me. Right, I have a few people, but like, I haven't gone there enough. But just from what I've seen with fall and some of the non-district, it's Houston in 24 and 25. Is really, really good. And even though 24 is not a great class, I think Houston has a lot of talent there. And I think Jalen is consensus number 1 because man, I mean, what he does for his team is just crazy, and just the numbers he puts up, and it's winning plays. I don't think he's trying to be selfish. Like I think everything he's trying to do is all about winning. So I'm big on guys that win. I'm big on guys that really compete like that. So that's why I had Jalen 1.
And with me with Jalen, I guess in prep, because we know the play what he did in the summertime, but for me, for him to be so young and be so mature and be able to handle what he was handling, because he heard the stuff off the floor, and that's tough when you 17. He's not even. It wasn't directly. They were taking shots at him, some people. So for him to be able to be so mature and handle it that type of way, and just still be productive on the side, and he took whatever came with it. We played back. He took it on the chin. He didn't complain. He didn't whine, at least not publicly. And he took it on the chin. He ended up becoming a top 100 player. He signed to a high major school. So I'm definitely very proud of him for the way he handled things.
And I think he should be ranked higher. Like I think Jalen Lowe, when we come back a year from now, and I'm doing an impact deal for this year, I think we're gonna come back and be like, damn, like why was he ranked outside top 100 or right at 100. Like, who, I feel that going to come about. Like, why was he not ranked higher?
Yep.
And I think that's like, he's the type of kid that I don't want to miss. Right? Because we see another kid that may fit more of a physical profile, but hasn't done what he nowhere close to what
Right. I mean, and then the class was just weird. I mean, COVID definitely played a significant impact on Wildwood, but I mean, just for me, I've never seen the class with the rankings fluctuate so much. You had guys in the 300s, they're in the top 50 kids. You have kids no one's ever heard of, they're McDonald's All-Americans. You had guys that were ranked really high, they're not even in the top 100 anymore. The class was so all over the place. So I think that even some kids we might even talk about nationally, I think they're going to go to college, be really successful. And you're going to be like, wow, how did we miss that 3-4 years ago?
Right. Alex, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this was just another question that I had for the both of you guys, so we have some extra time here. Who's a kid in this 2023 class, that maybe was ranked a little low or not talked about enough that, that you guys think is going to have a major impact at a college program next year? Is there a guy that sticks out for you guys?
I say Jalen Lowe. Like, I think Jalen Lowe is going to be really good.
Yeah, I think so too.
Really good.
I think he could have a Marcus Page-like career. I think he could be. I think he could be something like how he was at Carolina. I think he have something similar to that.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your take, Alex? Who do you think?
I was gonna say a guy like Elmarco Jackson going to Kansas.
Yeah.
Elmarco's really strong. Wide-shouldered guard. Killing it at South Kent. Played a really, really good spring and summer with We Are One on the Under Armour circuit. I think, with the guys that are going to be leaving Kansas, I think he has the chance to come in there and make a, immediate impact. And the thing with him that's going to, earn him minutes on the court is, he plays really, really hard on defense. So, I think him on the defensive end, and, he's super skilled and super athletic offensively, but defensively, I think that's where he's going to make the difference. So, that's my guy for sure.
Yeah, I like him, Marco. I got to see him it's embarrassing. I got to see him first time was this past summer. I got to see him a couple times. Plays hard, good athlete, scores it. I thought the shooting could improve, but I thought the shooting had some real upside because the mechanics were fine. But I just was like, man, like, he just gets after it. And he's a Bill Self guy. And about Kevin McCullough, we'll see what happens. Like, is he a senior? He has one more year, but he may be trying to fish, see what the pro options look like. Jalen Wilson, obviously.
Yeah.
You're going to have Grady Dick's going to be gone.
The bigs will be back, though. He'll have a few of the bigs will be back.
So, see how, like, all that transform. But I think Marco Jackson has a chance to get minutes, have the opportunity to get minutes early. And I think because he just fits how Bill Self likes his guys and how he'll develop within the system, I think we'll see some good early minutes from him. And
I have one other guy too. He's actually has not played this high school season. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL, but if he bounces back strong from that, which he will, and he was continuously climbing every time that I watched him this summer. He's heading to Virginia next year. It's Elijah Gertrude.
Gertrude a lot. Really good player. Really
good player. Super athletic. Super good shot blocker for a guard. Every time, I interviewed him 2 summers ago when he was playing. Well, it's slipping my mind. What was that New Jersey EYBL team that's not a team anymore? They only had a 16. Legacy, was it? New Jersey Legacy. Yeah, they were EYBL team. They only had 16s. He was playing at a hoop group event with him. And I'm standing next to Brian Petrozelli. I'm like, yo, who is this kid? He's like, oh, that's Elijah Gertrude. He's going to. So I interviewed him. Plays City Rocks this past summer. And I think he dunked on Ron Holland really bad at the Orlando session. And I'm sitting next to an assistant from Arkansas. And we just looked at each other. We're like, whoa. And because he was killing the whole game. After that, recruitment took off. Really unfortunate that, that injury happened to him this year. But, that's a Virginia guy too, right there. The guy that I like to compare him to is the I think Kyle Dunn that's there right now, really lengthy guard, but Elijah's a lot more explosive and a lot more athletic than him. So that's another guy that I think that will be really successful at the next level.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I want to go into my next topic. I had to get into my notes. Is the last one. So, like, who from a national perspective? Obviously, I'm gonna go with someone Southwest, but we can go wherever. But from a national perspective, like a national scope, who do you guys think is gonna blow up this spring and summer?
That's
so. We'll start with you.
Yeah, Tobias, you can go first, man.
Man, it was hard to narrow this down because I saw the question. I started just writing names. I said, man, I think it's going to be a really interesting summer. I'm probably going to go with Caden Diggs from he's in the DMV somewhere. I really like Caden Diggs' game. I don't think he's appreciated enough. I mean, he'll be on with New World with Jaden Mustafa and Connie Roof. So getting to see him play with those guys would be big time for him. But he really defends, really good, long athletic defense, really good mid-range shooter. And I think that he's what the college game is turning into, those hybrid, versatile wings that can play offense and defense, 3-and-D type of guy. I think he's gonna have a big summer and pick up a bunch of more offers.
Yeah, I got two guys from the 2025 class. First guy, he's already, really well known. Obviously, he's in the top 20 for that 2025 class. But the team he's on, and I just put a tweet out about him yesterday. I did a little film mashup on him. It's just the team he's on. He doesn't get the credits that's deserved because of the guys that are in front of him. But it's Aaron Rowe. Plays at Link Academy. He's going to be playing with Mocan again this spring and summer. Honestly, I was out at Link for a week before the season started. He's one of the shiftiest players in the country. Really tough shot maker. And I'm talking to the guys at Link. I'm talking to the Link coaches. And he's +8 every time he's on the floor. Link Academy's +8 when he's on the floor. But, he just doesn't get the opportunities because he's got a guy like Elliot Cadeau in front of him, right? So, I think when he gets in that grassroots space, gets in that system at Mocan, as we all know, Mocan's one of, if not the best grassroots program in the country. So, and the way they run their stuff is immaculate, the way they run their stuff. So I think he's going to blow up. I mean, he's already got really high major offers, but, I think his recruitment's going to skyrocket after this spring and summer. One other guy that I have is another 2025 guy, and it is a kid by the name of Jackson Keith from North Carolina. He's going to be playing with Team CP3. I watched him at the John Wall Holiday Invitational. Really, really tough, guard / wing. Stands at about 6'5", 6'6". It reminds me a lot of Paul. If I had to compare him to an NBA player style of game, it's almost like a Paul George. He's really smooth, but he gets downhill and he's really fundamental. Obviously, Paul George has a little flair to his game, but, just the way he moves. I mean, us as evaluators, we see that, like, just the way they move. He moves like Paul George. He's got that smooth style of play. He looks really comfortable when he's dribbling the ball. When he's attacking the rim, he's super athletic. So, that's two guys for me that I think is going to blow up this spring and summer. Ani, what about you?
So for me, I got we talked about this kid already, Robert Miller. I think Robert Miller is he has a chance to blow up. I don't know. He has the announced where he's going. I think it's probably going to be EYBL, right, Tobias?
Yeah, I think he's going to play with the hoops. I think
the hoops. I think he's going to play with the hoops. That's why I thought. Yeah, I think he, like, at his size, his versatility, athleticism, face-up game. He got a lot of tools. He got a lot of ability. I think this could be the summer where you see him potentially in the top 30 or top 25 discussion. Yeah. He can really move up like that. Tobias talked about the 23 class, even 24 class also gets that, a kid that just kind of comes up out of nowhere, and then, like, guys that were 300 that all of a sudden top 50 or top 60, top 75. I think he's a kid that's like a top 100 kid that puts himself in that borderline McDonald's All-American situation. One kid I really like, I just hope he just really kind of gets to it, Zion Sensley.
I like Zion a lot. Man, I like Zion a lot.
Yeah, like, I hope. I saw him at Wooten. Obviously seen some games. He's that prolific. Like, I'm just like, man, when the light bulb stays on, like he can be really, really.
He could be a pro.
Yes, he could
He
be
could be a pro.
And that's one that I'm like, I want him to break out because he's so talented. And then even Robert Miller, like I just think those two, like there's just so much ability. You just show it. Like let's go. Let's show that on a bigger stage, and let's show it consistently.
I think what'll help Rob too specifically is, I mean, for one, their team, they're loaded. You're probably gonna look at Bates, Devine, Amir Ali, Parker Jefferson, Robert Miller. I mean, they're just loaded. But I think Bates and Miller, he's gonna help him he's gonna get his easy looks, lobs, 3-point jumpers, mid-range jumper. I think Bates is gonna just help make him just look even better because he's already really talented. We know that, but it's just different when you have a guard that can do those type of things, get you easy looks consistently. I think those two are going to be a really nice tandem together in the summertime.
Yeah, Alex, like Tobias talks about hoops. What's the one summer team? Obviously, not everyone's put out their roster like that, but which Tobias talks about a potential starting 5 for the hoops that's loaded. Talk about which summer team are you excited about?
What I'm really excited about is Team CP3.
Yeah, I'm about to say you got to say them. Got to.
Have to. On paper, they got some dudes. Juke Harris, Trenton Flowers, who's made some real big strides.
Drake Powell, Mario Hanston.
Yeah, Drake.
They have dudes. They have dudes.
They got some dudes, man. Another team, that's really, really slept on is that's going to be on the 3SSB circuit is Game Elite. So we've been in talks with Game Elite, and I'm trying to find their record right now. But I think last summer I could be mistaken. Their 16U team, they kept everybody that they'll have on 17U on the 3SSB circuit. They went like 43-3 last grassroots season, something crazy like that. They lost 3 times. Another team on paper, if they keep all the guys, is New Heights Lightning. That they could arguably, Tahad Pettiford's coming back from an injury as well. He didn't play this high school season, but a backcourt of him and, Elliot Cadeau is, really, really hard to beat. So, that's another team that I know could cause some teams some trouble. But yeah, for me, if it's a team, it's, that 17U team CP3 team.
Yeah, I would say CP3's 17U team, I think, is loaded. I mean, I'm interested to see like hoops. I'm interested to see like Southern Assault, kind of how they look at like we talked about this 24 class in our last episode would be Jenkins, and Tobias, you've also tested like it's not a great class, right? Compared to the others, but I do think that there's gonna be some really loaded good teams. And I'm just interested to see like local, like state-wise, even like Live On, right? Team Griffin, I'm interested to see what they look like. But for me, Team CP3 and like Night Riders too, like I'm interested to watch them. Those are the teams that just like, okay, like this is gonna be,
I think Pro Skill, they have some dudes. I think if they bring some of those guys back, I think they'll be solid too. They bought over some guys as well.
Yeah,
Jeff always gonna do that.
Yeah, no,
that's 16U Pro Skills team. I don't know if you were talking about the 16s or the 17s. 16U Pro Skills is going to be a team that's really, really hard. They got Big Francis, Hudson Greer.
Love Hudson.
They'll have Cash Polk as well. They got some dudes over there for sure. So that Pro Skills 16s team is definitely a team to watch.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that wraps it up, guys. We talked about a lot of things. I appreciate Tobias again for coming out. Tobias, you have any we're going to give you the floor. Like, what's your closing statement? Where can people follow you? Where people write your stuff? What is something about you that people don't know about?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Tobias_Bass, TOBIAS_Bass, like the fish. We'll have some big stories coming out of the Athletic. I'll be at I got really lucky this year. McDonald's All-American, Final Fours, both in Houston. I'll be lucky to be covering both. So I'll be there, posting things on Twitter, posting articles. So we'll have a bunch of stuff about that on the line as well.
No, absolutely. So, this is Ani, Alex, and Tobias. We out and be back. We'll be back next week. And, you'll see Tobias again. He'll be one of the regulars.